Welcome to AM 605, real talk about how to prosper in challenging times. Featuring Vancouver's top realty, mortgage, and wealth advisors. Now, here are your hosts, Melissa Wu, Gary Chan, and Joe Tang.
Welcome back to another episode of AM 605. Today is March the 21st. I'm Joe Tang.
I'm Melissa Wu.
I'm Gary Chen.
I'm Ondřej Leipert.
So, end of March is coming very, very soon. In the last few episodes, we reminded everybody to remember to declare the speculation tax. So, Melissa, why don't we again remind our listeners what it is and why we're doing this?
Okay, so it's the BC government's action plan to remedy the people that work and live in BC in all the urban areas. So as a homeowner, they just don't encourage you to leave it empty. They want you to rent it out. So if it's occupied, then you just declare it. And the phone number again is just you can find it online. You just put in speculation and vacancy tax, and the number is 1-833-554-2323, or if you're in Vancouver, just call 711. I actually did it the other day because I didn't get my letter. So usually as a homeowner, you would get a declaration letter with a letter ID and a code. And if you don't have that, you can just call them. If you're in Vancouver, just call 711. Very easy.
And then you call them and then they know where you live.
They will ask for your name and then your address. They have actually, it's kind of synced into BC assessment. So with your name, and they'll find your address, and you just answer a few questions, and they're pretty good on the phone. So just call during the day and then just get it done. Otherwise, you could be subject to the speculation tax.
And again, what's that penalty?
A certain percentage that's on the website. So just like 99% of people don't have to pay it. So just make sure you declare though. Yeah. And so the market has been very active. We've been getting multiple offers everywhere in Vancouver.
Now, is it in pockets of the area?
Yes. So the price point, the pockets is a key. Yeah. So in Vancouver East, under 2 million, everything is getting offers. And especially if it's priced close to BC assessment or 10% above, then you would get multiple offers. In Vancouver West Side, it also, if you're pricing around BC assessment or a little bit below, you would also get multiple offers. So that is, it depends on the price point. It's still very active. I think it might slow down a little bit. I heard Toronto is slowing down, and I heard that mortgage rates are going up.
Yes. Some of the fixed rate actually recently increased it. I guess it's due to the recent bond yield actually changed it, increased it quite a bit. So the 4-year and the 5-year fix actually changed it to, I'll say, close to 1.99% to 2.19%.
Yes, I heard about that. That's almost a 20% jump, right?
Yes, but the variable rate is still very, very attractive. It's still around the 1.39 to 1.49 range.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
But a lot of clients or the market expect the interest rate will go up very soon
for the mortgage.
For the mortgage, and so after the pandemic is over, so when the economy starts to recover.
But I heard on TV, they said the COVID vaccine, it could be like a flu vaccine, it could be an annual vaccine.
Yeah.
So that's how can the pandemic be over if it's always a vaccine, different waves coming? You should have to get vaccine all the time, or?
Well, they send the COVID was keep changing, right? The structure of the spike protein, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're changing but the vaccine still work.
It works.
Yeah. According to studies, still work.
Yeah.
Because even if the virus a bit mutate, still the vaccine works.
Well, going back to the interest rate, so then basically the interest rates, the governments have said they're not increasing it anytime soon until 2023. So from Gary, from your experience, why the banks are all of a sudden increasing the rates? Is it bigger margins or what?
Well, I think it's part of it. I think it's the margin, and the second thing I think is the long term. So what happens actually 10-year bond yield rate actually increased it, right? So that actually affects the long term expectation of interest rate will be going up.
Right.
So, and inflation is also, it's a big, I would say it's not really like, because we have a lot of debate, it's inflation coming, because with the Fed actually printing so much money.
Yeah.
So that's still hard to see, but seeing all the housing market actually going up already, but
Yeah.
only in mainly Vancouver area and Toronto area.
Yeah.
I've actually other clients in other provinces, they're saying that like their housing market is actually not that active still.
Actually, I have a question. Melissa, you mentioned Toronto is slowing down.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
Did you hear why, or what was the reason behind it? Or is it because the summer is coming? I don't know if this is seasonality, but you would know.
Like I'm not too familiar with the Toronto market, but just from talking to other clients, they just say like
Yeah.
Toronto is slowing down. So they see that like Vancouver will probably slow down too, just because mortgage rates are, increasing, right? So like it was very active because people want to lock in like a 5-year term for like 1.3, or some banks were announcing like 1%, like it's almost free money. So I think a lot of buyers, like because of that, they were motivated to get into the market. And it's also a domino effect. Once you make a sale, somebody sold, they might buy again. So it creates like multiple transactions.
Is there a natural seasonality with Vancouver?
Vancouver's always very active, like in the spring market. So just like around this time of the year, it's always, yeah. Even like when it's New Year, when new BC assessment come out, everybody wants to get in gear. Oh, I'm thinking of selling my house. This could be the year to move. Versus like if you look at 2019, it was a very like tough year. There were like hardly any transactions, very few transactions in the first 6 months of the year. This year is again like very, very active.
Would you say June, July, August, like summertime would?
Summertime, we don't know how travel will be. A lot of people are actually very like, very wanting to go away. So I'm thinking like in the summer months, people might not be in the real estate market. They could be traveling. They could be wanting to just take a break from, being at home all the time. So we don't know what's going to happen in summer, but traditionally it's always the spring that's very active. For sure.
Summer will be slower, like
Summer,
traditional.
you get a lot of people that just want to like be out and about and look at homes. They're not the in my experience, they're not like very serious buyers. Serious buyers come out like in the rain, in the cold. If they're not serious, they would not like come out to look at the home in the rain or cold. And serious sellers actually stay in the market even though it's like cold and raining because they really want to sell. So in the bad weather, you actually get the more serious buyers and sellers.
Makes sense.
Okay. Well, so speaking of like increasing interest rates, obviously in I would say at the end of February, increasing rates have caused a bit more volatility in the stock market because people are concerned about a rise in interest rates would cause, premature decline in the stock market. But I think people are misreading the whole situation because you got to look at it from the fact that if the only reason why interest rates are actually moving higher is because the economy is getting better. It's getting better. That's why the interest rates can eventually, at some point in the future, whether it's 6 months from now or it's 3 years from now, that the interest rates will move higher. So I would say it's actually a good sign versus more of a negative sign. Because if interest rates don't move higher or the yield curve is actually inverted, then we have a bigger problem because then that means there's recessions coming back, or the economy or the vaccine's not working, or the pandemic is really serious. It's causing businesses around the world to be closing down. So I would look at it differently. I would say it's actually rates increasing or the yield curve increasing is actually more of a positive sign than a negative.
So do you think like it will continue to increase?
I believe so. Because the thing with the yield curve is that your 1-year term should be, let's say 1%. Your 10-year term should be at 2%. That's a normal yield curve.
Right.
And when we look at the stock market, we look at the yield curve to kind of predict what's going to happen in the next year to 2 years. If the yield curve is normal, then the market should be fine. If it's the reverse, if it's inverted, meaning a 1-year term is giving you 2% and then a 10-year term is giving you only 0.5%, that's an inverted yield curve, and that would cause, and historically speaking, 80% of the time when that happens, within 18 months we will get some sort of recession.
So are we in the inverted one right now?
We're in a normal one.
Okay.
Yeah. So in 2018, we actually had an inverted yield curve. So obviously, shortly after that, 2020, pandemic happened, and then the recession happened. So it could be coincidental. If it wasn't pandemic, it could have been something else that would have caused it, right? So, but then 80% of the time, the yield curve is a very, very, I would say, good indicator of what happens to the stock market 18 months from now. So, but speaking of, depression, losing money, and all that kind of stuff, of course, we always cover health in our podcast. So, Andre, with people being stuck at home, right? People can't go out. I've heard certain people are actually getting depressed, or they're not happy because they're so.
Actually, so true, because actually so many people, like I know from my clients, right? So many people get depressed from last 1 year because the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
I never heard like so many people like the complain like about depression. It's crazy. So I feel like every second person like you feel depressed, right? And so I'm gonna ask you guys first. What do you guys guess? What is like the best thing for if you have depression? What is the best treatment in your opinion, guys?
I think exercise. Like exercise, be out
So
like in the
physical
sun.
activity.
Physical activity for sure.
Maybe you get it. Oh, I get it, Joseph.
Oh, I think we're humans. We're social beings,
Mhm.
right? So I think the lack of human to human communication or interaction led to some depression. So I would say that the conversation piece, the in person, that gathering, that
Absolutely. So if you at home, you have to keep call mom, right? Call your mom, call your parents. Zoom. I never. I tell you guys something. I never call my parents and my family because my family is back in Czech Republic, right? And I never call them so often as during pandemic. I call them like used to. I would call them maybe every 2 weeks, maybe once, right? Now like every day.
Yeah.
Online, I call them, I talk to them, I feel much better because that helps you so much.
right.
It make you feel happy, make you feel like satisfied. It's basic thing. It's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, so looking at like depression actually is I think depression is actually a really big topic because there's a lot of like different symptoms that people get.
Absolutely, so many.
So I was like trying to find out a little bit more about depression. A lot of people with depression symptoms like feeling sad or having like depressing mood, loss of interest of doing anything or change in appetite. A lot of people they actually find themselves having trouble in sleeping or like sleeping too much as well too. Especially through pandemic time, I guess a lot of people stay home and sleep.
Yeah, that's not your problem because you're going to bed at 5 a.m., right? So that's not your problem.
I have trouble sleeping, so I may be one of them.
Yeah, but
So
so besides,
Depressed?
not really.
Are you depressed now, or will you be depressed?
Well, I'm just depressed about. I think I'm depressed about the situation, how the pandemic, like, and everyone has to go through. So I just want the world to be a better place for us to live. So I
but
want
but
people to stop.
besides what you mentioned the Wikipedia, right? So I will say one thing. Um, Also, what I find out, which is very good, the achievement.
You can.
So basically, if you plan, yes, no, if you plan like every week, what do you want to achieve, and you do that, then for me, for example, like nothing make me more satisfied as achievement. If I do something, we apply, for example, I wanna like let's say release my supplement company or get new client, or read this book, they make you super happy when you finished. You achieve.
Well, I mean, like you try to
Achievement.
set some
Sense of
personal
achievement.
goals and make it a routine so that you have more to do
Habit.
and more to do.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this kind of things is like we covering like mental thing, but in terms of on physical things,
Yeah.
the gym, as Melissa mentioned, like the gym and physical activities are so important because I tell you guys something. I remember during first lockdown, I remember during like last year in March, I got so depressed. I was never depressed, but I was
Yeah.
so depressed because I didn't train.
Lost all his muscles.
I lost my muscle. I
All but
didn't. I
like.
didn't have an appetite. I didn't eat. I cannot eat.
Yeah, I can't believe it. He shrunk like 20 pounds.
Yeah, I cannot eat more like 1 meal a day.
Yeah.
I was so depressed because I did nothing. I didn't exercise at all.
Yes.
But you would drink like 5 liters of wine.
I
Okay,
I have a similar. I have similar experience. I'll say in the first
Okay,
6 months.
okay.
In the first 6 months of the pandemic, I'll say through March to October, I actually gained weight.
A lot of people gain weight. You're
But
not
People gain
alone.
weight.
you
I
have two
gained like
groups.
20 pounds.
You have two groups. Some people, when they're depressed, they eat. They're using food as a
It's a
treatment.
comfort, yeah.
Yes,
Oh, that's me.
some people cannot eat.
And chocolate as well.
Yeah, some people cannot eat. So we have two different groups, right? But Melissa, actually, Melissa, she's right because during the first pandemic lockdown, we had to buy the big case, like 5, 10, 15 liter of wine because the bottle is too small for us. So actually, we bought case.
Yeah, because we were drinking too many bottles, we touched
Yes, he bought it. He bought it.
the
I was drinking.
container of wine.
You're
We
saying
didn't know they had it, and then we just walked through the aisle. Hey, these
Yeah.
are box wines.
Basically, I was drinking as border. Stop. I was drinking as border. Like,
so you're saying you're becoming an alcoholic.
no, alcohol-like.
Absolutely.
Alcohol-like. It's different.
Okay.
But usually I had like, I have to be honest with you guys. I had maybe 2-3 liters a day
Yeah.
of wine, just inside water.
Mm.
Yeah, so I mean, you can actually seek professional help too,
Yeah.
like a psychiatrist, or it's a lot to do with mental and the way you're thinking. Depression is caused by like the mindset, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But back to the physical things, right? So besides the exercising, which is very good, right? Or different exercising when you mentioned Joseph, right? Also the proper nutrition helps us so much.
Yeah, nutrition.
Melissa, I tell you something. Do you remember what you told me yesterday? You say if you drink every day a little bit much more, you feel depressed. So you feel like you wanna go out or you wanna burn out because actually alcohol make you depressed.
Yeah,
If
too
you
much drinking
if
just
you drink
depress you.
every day, your alcohol make you depressed. So
Chocolate make me depressed too. I
What?
keep gaining
I
weight
have
from
a
chocolate.
question. So when you say like too much alcohol, it's too much. Like one glass a day is not too much, though.
no, not too much.
No,
But
that's not
if you no, basically if you get glass every day, the day number 5, you will feel very depressed. Actually, it works in.
because it gives you like a spike in your insulin with
Yeah,
the alcohol.
no,
You
but
lose a withdrawal.
nothing to do with insulin. That's all about dopamine. Because when you drink alcohol, you release dopamine, but next day you have very low dopamine, right?
Yeah, there's like a withdrawal.
Continue, you increase your dopamine, pleasure hormone even drop even lower. So that's the reason. So we should do activities. We should boost dopamine in natural ways. So exercising, running, do some sports.
Yes, running definitely helps.
Yes, for sure.
So you're saying the communication is key, physical activity.
Yeah. And lastly, I want to mention one thing. Actually, the proper nutrition and also supplements. We have few supplements or like vitamins or minerals which helps with good mood. We start with dopamine. Oh, sorry, dopamine. Tryptophan. Tryptophan is amino acids which is present in chocolate.
Mm.
So that's why chocolate makes us happy.
Nutella has chocolate.
Yeah, even Nutella. So that's why people love chocolate because of dopamine, make us feel good. Besides sugar, also give us the happiness. But we can get dopamine from bananas. We don't have to say chocolate. Yeah,
I'm gonna air fry some banana.
and also
Bananas actually help on depression in a sense. Yeah.
and also vitamin B, B complex.
Vitamin B.
B complex. Actually, the B complex is one of the strongest natural treatment for depression.
Hmm.
So you can have like we can have eggs, which have natural, or you can just buy B complex in the pharmacy or
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
Mm.
That's a very good idea. So I think it's depression is really something that
It's such a
It's a serious thing.
Yeah, it's very
it's a
serious
very
thing
serious.
during yes.
And I
it's
think
not-
like I talked to a lot of friends or clients, and then like they do have like people around them with depression.
yeah, because people are locked down for 2 years, but people don't know what happened. People like cannot travel, cannot like socialize for 2 years, almost man.
You can socialize, just physical distance.
Yeah,
You can Zoom.
but people still feel
It's
still
not
like
the same. It's just kind of like
people feel
totally
restriction.
different.
People feel like restriction. They still feel like depressed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah. So I remember like yesterday someone was asking me like, "Oh, have you been away for the last like 14 days?"
Where would you go?
And my answer was 14 months now.
Yeah, right.
Well, thank you for sharing the tips and for us how to stay mentally healthy. Like physically healthy is one thing, but mental health is very, very important, especially during these difficult times. But next week we're actually going to be going somewhere.
Yeah.
Whistler.
Back to Whistler.
Back to Whistler, second time actually for this podcast, and so
So we're gonna.
Whistler Part 2.
So we should podcast in the hot tub again, no?
Tub and
hot
sauna.
tub, sauna, or snowmobile, whatever we will feel. Like, we'll keep everybody posted, and we'll take videos and we'll share it with everyone. Until next week.
Stay tuned.
Bye.
Bye.
Stop.
If you enjoyed listening to the podcast, you have to check out AM 605 on Facebook, where it's all about real investment and financing strategies. Brought to you by Melissa Wu PREC, Gary.chan Mortgage Team, and Tang Wealth and Investment.